really, we're in Sefer Shemot. New book, new Sefer. We're in also, I don't know, a lot of things are happening. First question is like, what's the deal that it's called Sefer Shemot? So that's my first question. Like, because also the Parsha really doesn't have so many names in it. Yes, in the beginning of the Parsha it says these are the names that came down from Mitzrayim. But then you have this like very anonymous Ish Levi, takes the Isha Levi, and even Shifra and Puah are not really kind of names. It's more like what they were doing with the kids. It was like it was kind of like there was a very famous here Harnof midwife named Bambi. It's not her real name. She's a Rebbitzin, like meaning a person, it's okay. And then we don't have even Batya's name. Wait, yes, we have Moshe, and then we have later Aaron, but we really don't have so many names in this parsha. So what's name? What is a name also? What's a Shem? And no, Miriam is not also. I'm pretty sure Miriam's not in the parsha either. I have to be honest. I didn't read every single word in it, but I'm pretty remembering that Miriam's name's also. The name of Yocheved is not in it. The name of Amram is not in it. Until we're going to get it until next week's parsha. But why in this week's parsha there's no names of like really anybody? And also the names that are there are dead people. I mean, Yaakov's dead, Yosef's dead, and all the Shevatim are dead. So they're not even really like, what is that? So that's number one question. Number two question is that how is it possible? And when I read this, I was so blown away by this because I didn't know this. But really, how is it possible? Number one, think about it. What is this idea that Paro doesn't know Yosef? How's it possible? I mean, I'm sorry. You were the treasurer of, we know who Roosevelt, like if you were telling me who's, Winston Churchill, like most people, and that's like a while ago, and nowadays most people don't read books, but like, like back in the, you hear, so don't tell me you don't know who Yosef is. We're only talking about like 20 years later. We're not talking about like 2,000 years later. If you're, some people, who Queen Elizabeth is, I mean, just, you know. So what are you telling me you don't know Yosef? That, okay. And of course we were taught midrashim about this. We're taught, but what does that mean not to know somebody? And also it's not saying he didn't remember Yosef. Interesting. And also lo makir et Yosef, right? In English it doesn't work. I have to know and to know, but in Spanish and all these Latin languages, and in Hebrew you have, no conozco or no say. It's I don't know or I don't know this person, right? In Hebrew, lakir is to be acquainted with somebody. Oh, do you know my cousin? Right? But when it comes to like, that's nothing to do with knowing a person or not. So why is the word lo yoda et Yosef? What's going on here? So far we've got a question about names. We have a question about what's going on with like what happened to Yosef. And we have another question this is really blew my mind. How in the world did Paro enslave a whole entire nation? And again, we're not talking about, did not take so long to enslave them. And we're not talking about like a foreign power coming in and taking over. We're talking about a people that it says, they were very big, right? And they were there 20 years before, they were like in the government. So how is it possible that all of a sudden they're taken over and they become enslaved? So I had some very powerful moments that happened to me this week, and it actually started with Motzei Shabbos. And it's like a theme that I think all of us need to really, really understand. And we need to know who we are. Not necessarily to lakir etzmeinu, like to get to know ourselves, which is also very good to know. Like, what do I, but who really am I? Do you even know yourself? Or what's that? So in Torah, what's that? That is chibur, it's connection. When we say eitz adat, we're saying, are you connected? Are you connected to Tov and connected to Ra? Or are you just confused? That Hashem told us not to eat from eitz adat. He was giving us, basically, I want to connect to you with this dat, with this knowledge. And we're davening every day for dat, chokhmah, bina, and dat. What's dat? Dat is connection. When someone knows somebody according to Torah of dat, it means they're intimate. They know them intimately. They're connected to them. You don't know somebody according to Torah if it's not an intimate relationship, right? So I'm davening every day that I should have dat. What am I davening for? A chibur, connection. So what does it mean that Paro all of a sudden doesn't know Yosef? There's no more connection to Yosef and what he did. It's not that I forgot about it. It's I'm not connected to it in any way. And when there's no dot also in the world, what is truly the true dot that we're always striving for? is to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because why we want to have a connection with him. So I did something. I had just a couple events that I thought were interesting. Last week I was learning with a student, and I mentioned to her, I want you to spend 5 minutes a day. I told her, first time I met her, and I'm like, go out. And a student who knows nothing really. I shouldn't say that. She knows things, but doesn't know how to connect to them, and doesn't have so much knowledge or experience in Torah. So I said to her, okay, first time I met her, I said, I want you every day 5 minutes to just like have a conversation with your creator, have a conversation with God. Now, mind you, I didn't even get to what does God look like to you. I didn't ask those questions. Okay. I'm kind of running in assuming that you know that there is a God, which in itself could be, but I was just I'm saying, I know that there's a God, and I'm asking you to, how do you connect? And I told her, and then what does that mean? I said, I want you to spend 5 minutes just talking, talk to yourself, talk to your soul, before we even get into what is a soul, but just talk to yourself, talk to your soul, and just be, I really, my point was to be quiet. I told her, go into the woods or go into the beach or whatever. I don't know, wherever. I'm saying go for a walk or just sit there, but like really a connection. She tells me that what was so fascinating this week when I met her was that it was such an incredible experience, because she said she gained so much clarity by being quiet for 5 minutes. Now, I mean, saying quiet meaning not on her phone, right? Not with the distraction. Because she told me, even when I work, during my break, I'm checking. I'm like, I can't, what's it called? I'm scrolling. So that means my mind has never stopped, and an outside, I'm not connected to anything, she said. Like, so even when I want to rest, I'm not even resting, I'm scrolling, which is the most unrestful thing that there is. So she said this is such an incredible experience, and she said she came to like a real conclusion in her life, what she needs to do based on 5 minutes of quiet, of like disconnection to connect. And I was thinking that myself, and I had this decision that I really needed to make. And I find that I needed to gather information about the decision to make it, meaning I need to talk to people, I need to get aids, I need to get advice, okay? And I need to get different, but always at the end of the day, we have to make our own decisions. So as much advice as I could take from people, I take responsibility and decide something. And I realized it was causing me anxiety until I just talked to myself and talked to Hashem in a deep conversation. And that got me a lot of clarity, and I made a decision. Okay. This is this idea of chibur, of connection. So how Am Yisrael could have been enslaved so easily. I want to tell you, I did not know this. What does it bring up in the Midrash? When it says that Yosef died, Vayemet Yosef v'kol achiv v'kol adorahu. Okay, they died, right? They were gone. And it wasn't that then there was like all of a sudden a slavery. Meaning it wasn't like, oh, there's this protection, protexia, and now I have this nation that because he's gone, I can start enslaving them. Do you know what the Midrash says when it says about Paro in Shemot Rabbah? It brings in that Paro had no intention of enslaving us whatsoever. Why? Because he understood something that we don't understand ourselves, right? And what was that? He understood that there's no way you can enslave a nation who is blessed and who is connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu. If they're B'nai Melachim, I have no intention of enslaving them. So what did he do? It says in the Pasuk, the first thing he did, he just wanted to do taxes. He says, let me get rid of them. If I give them tax, he was scared. He's like, they're taking, I don't know what he was scared about, but they're taking over, or they're going to, they're going to form with our enemies. He just wanted us to leave. Go someplace far away. Like, I don't want to be around you anymore. He put taxes. But we didn't go. We actually started to offer ourselves as slaves to pay off these taxes. Meaning we got into a mode of, I am going to work in order to work, in order to work, in order to work, because I'm not thinking or connected to anything. I'm being so busy. I am so busy right now. I have no time to think and reflect. Is this a meaning and purpose in my life? Is this what my goals are? Is this actually bringing me more connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu? Like, how in the world? Like, I just have to spend 5 minutes a day thinking, is this act going to bring me closer to Hashem or not? And I have clarity. This was the exile, right, of dat, of chibur, of connection, of knowing and awareness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu in our lives and what's going on. And it blew my mind. I could not believe, I thought Paro just enslaved us. This was actually not the Nazis who already had a genocide plan to like, we're just killing every single Jew. This was something where I just want to get rid of them from my country. I'm going to put taxes. And then we come and we're like, okay, we forget who we are. We don't even know that we have connection. And it's brought down that when Yaakov died, So all the brothers are bringing him to be to Kfura in Eretz Yisrael and Kever Machpelah, right? And as they're bringing him, all the nations start to come out of the woodworks, the Canaanim, the Esav, Ishmael, and they're like, no way are we letting them bury Yaakov. And they look at the coffin, and all of a sudden on the coffin, they see the Keter Shel Yosef. They see Yosef's crown. And for some reason, it says okay, it's not it's not like I'm being dramatic when I say this, but there was a reason why that all of a sudden stopped them from wanting to not allow him to be buried. And all of them, all the nations, took off their ketarim, their crowns, and put it on the Aron of Yaakov, and they gave them their kavod. Now, what's the word kavod means? You might mean it means honor. It actually means place. A melech hakavod, Hashem is the melech hakavod because what is kavod? He steps back to give us place. So actually, kavod is place. When you give someone kavod, you're giving them place. You're giving them honor. It means I'm giving you a place. Talk, please. L'chavod, you talk first. I'm giving you place. They gave him kavod. Why? Because Yosef HaTzadik was somebody who goes down to Mitzrayim, and as I mentioned before, the place where he's in Ish Matzliach is written where he's in jail. The place where he's in Ish Mashliach is where he's connected to Hashem no matter what's going on, and you will not imprison my mind and my connection to Hashem. It's not when I'm the very powerful person who's making so much money and who's famous and who's got this after them, that after them, and everyone is. No, that's not where he had his reputation, his name. I don't know, his success. Yosef has his success in the places where in his darkest moments he's still connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the moment that is forgotten, then you have nothing. You're in exile. You're mamish, and the worst galus that there possibly is. Galus adat is the worst thing. So I want to tell you what happened. Motzei Shabbos, my week starts. I'm always having miracles every single second of my life, but I'm going to fast forward to just an interesting experience that I had, where I was privileged. I got to go because I was privileged to be able to see this in firsthand. Now you hear lots of stories and there's all these interviews, but when you hear something, it's a real zachut to hear it from a person's first word, as they claim in Hebrew. It's called Kli Lishon. I got to hear from the Kli Lishon. So I went to a Malva Malka, Havdalah, a huge event. There was over 1,000 students, okay, secular students at this event. And they brought in the former hostage bar, okay, to speak before this crowd. It was a surprise also. I didn't know. I didn't know. I was actually going to see if I could find some of my students. It was a long story why I went, me and my daughter, but I was so happy and honored and touched that I got to hear this, because it really is a big zechut to hear this firsthand. Now, I want to explain to you what he said. And you might have read this, but take it into the context of what's happening right now in this Parsha of Shemot, where we're just enslaved because we don't have connection. He explains like this. He says that his mother is Shomer Shabbat, his father is not Shomer Shabbat, right? And he says that when his father was in a motorcycle accident, he was severely injured, disabled, and he took over the responsibility of helping to provide for his family. So what would happen? Every weekend he would go to work. Now his mother, who's Shomer Shabbat, would say to him, Bar, Ein Bacha, there's no blessing if you're working on Shabbos. And she would say, don't work on Shabbos. Every week, don't work on Shabbos. Then comes October 6/7th. And for the first time ever, his mother did not say this to him. And he was thinking, I wonder why. Now, later on, he feels he knows why, because there was kind of like he had to be there. Why? I will explain. So he was in the army, and in the weekends, he goes and he was the security for Nova Festival, okay? And he says it's 6:30 in the morning, and that's when the missiles, and there's a lot of chaos, and they get the information that they must evacuate. Everyone must go home. You got to evacuate the festival. It's over. So he starts to tell people, all right, it's time to go home, pack up, everybody go back home. It's over. No one knew the extent of what was going on or what was happening. So there were two roads, he said, the right one and the left one, and they realized the left one is blocked, and they got word that there's terrorists on the left road. So he's shepherding everyone to go on the right. Everyone go on the right. And then all of a sudden they start coming back, and there's cars and chaos, and they're saying there's terrorists on the right, terrorists on the left. Now he's like, he didn't say the word booby trap. I'm going to say booby trap. He said trap. Like he felt like he was caged, and he has all these people he's achrayas for, thousands of people. He asks, is there any other road? And there was a security road where he's like, let's just break it down, basically. And he was able to save 2,000 people who went on that road, okay? So right. So now, then what does he do? He has his security car. He did say what kind of car it was, and I'm not so knowledgeable. When you're not knowledgeable about something, it doesn't register. So I'm just telling you from memory, but I don't remember. It was like he said it as though it's like a specific. I wasn't sure. Maybe it's a Jeep. I don't know. Anyways, he decides that there's no ambulance, there's no Mada coming, and there are wounded people. 10 times he brings people into this car and to safety. 10 times, back and forth. 10 times, you guys. On the 10th time, he says, I have to save myself. In the meantime, this is like terrorist, horrible, horrific things happening. After then, he gets out of the car. A minute and a half later, it's completely and totally gunned down, exploded. And he's running. The car is exploded. And so Hashem saved him. The car is exploded and he's running. And it's a half an hour, he was saying, I think he said 35 minutes. I was confused by the timing, but be'erech, and all of a sudden silent. And he's like, oh, okay, thank God. The army came and they took care of everything. Silence, and all of a sudden he also threw off his walkie-talkie. He threw off he threw off things not to be carrying any kind of like this. Nothing are, and all of a sudden he hears Allah Akbar, and he starts saying Shema Yisrael, and he said from his mouth that he felt on the zechut of him saying Shema Yisrael. They didn't kill him in that moment, and they instead took him into captivity for, I don't remember if he said 46 or 47. I was listening to this story, right? I'm hearing it first person from his mouth. And he said for, I think it was 46 or 47 days, he's first in apartments. He got switched at least 5 times, different apartments. And then he goes under for 2 years into tunnels. Now, let me explain to you what this man said. He did not say that he was starving and beaten and tortured, which happened. He didn't say that the thing he was craving most was a bath or a shower or warmth. He told us that what was such a burning desire in him, every single day in hostage, the one thing that he was burning for was to put on a tefillin. Putting on tefillin is what he wanted, and he had a tefillin. I mean, he was bar mitzvah, but this is someone who's not. He's not really not. He didn't say. I don't know anything about him, but he did say that he wasn't religious. But So he said that he's burning desire to put on tefillin. The mother feels this, and she takes the tefillin, and she has people put it on every single day. Now, mind you, there's someone in the audience who raises his hand, and he's like, I'm from Chile, and I came last year on a birthright tag by mission group, and I want you to know I was in Kika, the hostage square, and your mother was there, and she was telling us to put on tefillin. I put on tefillin, and this past year, I still continued, a year later, to put on tefillin, the zechut of your mother. That was in pause. Then Bar is telling us that, okay, after the 2 years and horrific things that pass, he was set free. Now, mind you, was he ever enslaved with Dag? No, he had connection the whole entire time. And the first thing he did when he got out of the hospital was to put on tefillin. Okay, then he said to us 2 other things which are very, very powerful. He told us a story, which it's famous now, but I want to repeat it because I didn't hear it. There's so much going around. Maybe I heard it, can't remember, but I want us to remember the story. It's very powerful. He said the hostage one time called his mother. And she said, the hostage said to the mother, you are not doing enough for your child. You go out there and want more to protest. And I'm going to, horrible things I'm doing to your child. I'm going to do it to your son. And he is in our hands. You mean the terrorist? The terrorist said this to the mother, okay? He said to the mother to intimidate the mother, do more pressure on the government. He's in our hands. And you know what the mother answered? And you tell me who's free or not. She said, he's in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands. And she said, and so are you. And then the terrorist answered in Hebrew, Kol hakavod geveret, and he hung up. What? And I'm thinking to myself, who is enslaved and who's not? And then Bar shows that he's wearing a baseball cap backwards. Mind you, this is 1,200 college students, and no one is connected to Hashem I shouldn't say that. Most of them, probably based on what I'm gathering, knowing myself, from the experience of students I work with, they're probably not so connected to Torah mitzvot, because that's the whole purpose of this, right? Abdallah was to bring them on a trip to Israel and try to connect them. And they have in front of them a person who's saying, I was a security guard at a rave, and I am telling you that, like, all I want to do is put on tefillin, and what's tefillin? I'm wrapping myself to connection, right? A woman doesn't need to wrap herself. She really has the cloth to connect without wrapping, binding. It's unbelievable. So he turns around his baseball cap, and what's the baseball cap say? And he says, I wear it every day. It says, Ani b'yadayim shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm in the hands of Hashem. Okay? Now, I'm listening to this. I'm blown away. I'm blown away because it's like you have real life, someone telling you, no one can enslave your mind, no one can enslave your desires, and no one can enslave your connection between you and Hashem. What there is, galus, is I am enslaved because I have no connection to Hashem. Now, of course, how do we build connection to Hashem? That's a whole entire sugya. That daily, like all the time, we're really supposed to have 6 constant, we have constant mitzvahs that we're supposed to be all the time. But why can't we have at least, and I know we're living lives where in theory we should be connected to Hashem. We should be always connected to Hashem. If I'm dressing a certain way and I'm eating a certain way, I'm saying blessings and I'm davening, isn't my life automatically connected to Hashem? Well, not necessarily. You can be very robotic in all the things that you do. You can take it as a ritual. But can you just have a discussion with the Kadosh Baruch Hu and really connect to Him? To really connect to the Shekhinah, do you realize that Mashiach is the same otiyot, it's the same letters as the Mesicha? Is to have a connection and a talk. We bring Mashiach into our lives. We're bringing the Mashiach in the Geulah when we are actually having a conversation with Hashem. To what? To have more awareness of Him, so that in my mitzvot, and I will do more mitzvot and have more awareness, that my Shabbos is going to be a Shabbos of connection. I'm going to spend a whole day, I was talking to myself, I don't understand how we don't sell Shabbos. Like, who would not want to keep Shabbos? You get a whole entire day of connection where you're not having to worry about things, and yet people want to worry and they can't deal with that, and they need to think, how can I not work? How can I not talk on a phone? How can I not drive? How can I not be with that person if it's too far away? Well, you know what? You're a slave. You can't be with yourself. You can't be with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's scary. It's really scary. And I find in my life, my misery happens when I'm disconnected. But what am I disconnected from also, which I wanted to bring up, which is so, so important? I'm disconnected from the fact that I have a tafkid, I have a mission. And that I came into this world to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a specific, unique mission that no one else can do. And then every day my mission could be changing, depending on the situation that Hashem has given me, of course. But I'm not here stam. And what's the word Shemot? Right? It's brought on from Lekutei Moran, right? Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Natan, Rabbi. Shemot Roshei Tavot, Tachlit Ma'aseh Shamayim Va'aretz. What does that mean? It's the acronym for the purpose of the doing, of the creating of the Shamayim, the heavens and the earth. Which means your name is your essence. It's your mission. Yosef knew he had a mission. You didn't hurt me, he says to them. You were still going to have consequences. We all have consequences if we take responsibility. But you didn't do anything to me. Hashem put me here because I have a mission. I was talking to a woman this week. I'm seeing a woman, and she had at least 4 or 5 events in her life that is causing her to have a lot of suffering right now in a certain situation for doing a certain mitzvah. And I told her, you have a shlichut in this. It's not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent you those people in your life because in order to ruin you. Do you realize that objectively and subjectively, I never know what is objective and subjective of what one person says? Because I could give you a blessing and you could take that as an insult because I'm not understanding to you. I'm bringing up something that you don't want to be blessed in. I don't know. And another person could be like, give me the blessing. Meaning what I'm trying to say is that even though there are social norms, even within a social norm and etiquette and tact, some people get offended and some people don't. Some people will be destroyed by what one teacher will say to them, and then other people, they'll just go with it. It's not that one's better or worse. I'm just saying it's a matter though of also, it's not that one's insensitive, so whatever you say to me, I don't care about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking to make yourself strong and have self-esteem that I'm inflating myself so much that I don't know what people say about me. No. But what it means is my only sense of self-esteem is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if Hashem, you put this person in my life and it's painful or it's causing me some kind of suffering, What am I supposed to learn from it? Let me skip the person and go straight to you. Why do I need a shaliach in my life for? I'll just talk to you about it. How do you want me to connect to you? Should I be a shaliach? Should I then, I said to her, do you realize you have such a, do you realize that, maybe you should be the one who can, not because you're waving a flag that I have to fix the whole world of hear me roar, but because I have a beautiful shlichut and making something beautiful that I thought that was so difficult. And I want other people not to feel the weight of something. I want them to feel the beauty of something, right? I hope you're understanding me. Mm-hmm. So simply, Shemot, why are there no names? I thought maybe, this is my own idea, or maybe, I don't know, I'm taking all these things, is that, first of all, your neshama has inside of it the word Shem. Your soul, your essence, your chelek Elokai, you have to realize at your essence and your core of who you are, your mamahut, it's godly. It's mamash godly. We are godly. That's why Paro, what are you doing? There's no way, he's like, I can't enslave them. But when we take the godly connection that we don't even see in ourselves, then we very easily will fall into slaves, right? So what do? We have to tap into our names. And what's the name? I thought was so interesting is the first names really is Shifra and Pua, who are two women who say, what am I going to do in this situation right now? Am I going to save babies? I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try. And I'll do you guys, they didn't take knives and guns and start killing they didn't do that. They just, in a discreet way, cuddled and cooed the babies and said, they were born before we even got here. It wasn't this, and that was their essence, all becoming, because Shifra and Pua, you're bringing beauty, and you're Pua, you're cooing. That's your name. Moshe, you're the first person, he's called Tuvia by his parents. Avdar, he has so many other names. Why Moshe? Because Moshe, you have a mission. I'm going to draw you out of water. I'm drawing you with chesed. I'm drawing you also out of ta'avot, actually, and desires into this world to do something, to raise you up. Moshe, because he had a mission, right? It's the names come to teach us. If you forget who your name is, you're forgetting who you are, that you came into this world with a tafkid, with a purpose. Yosef was the symbol. His keter of Yosef was to remind, hey, we're a nation that remembers that every single individual has a mission, and I'm here to bring Hashem's glory into this world. I'm here in order to bring Hashem into this world, to chibur, to dat, to connection. And all these things were coming together to me. I'm thinking, okay, this is incredible that I actually started off my week of Parsha Shemot with hearing a person would not let anyone enslave him, even though, and you hear the other stories, which I didn't hear firsthand, about one, they wanted him to convert to, and he's like, no, never before was Judaism ever a question. How many people went to the gas chamber singing Shema Yisrael? How many people were burned at the stakes, for not converting? How many people, there's nothing new. We have such a koach, but we forget it all the time, and then we're constantly tested again. Do you remember who you are? Do you know who you are? You're going to fall back into Mitzrayim, enslaving yourself. And it's sad to me because we do, I see, we make so many choices in our lives based on what other people are thinking. And we're making choices in our lives based on what they might be saying. And we make choices in our lives not based on our essence of who we are and our connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And then there's no erech. There's mamash no self-esteem. And people are they're reading all these books about how I can get self-esteem and the positive affirmations I can say, or maybe acts I can do. You know what? Anything that connects you to a chibur with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and your neshama, that you're godly and you're connected to Hashem, this is self-esteem. Because it's not an outcome-based self-esteem. It's not that if I perform something, or if my home looks a certain way, or if I look a certain way, it means anything. It's a cute story. Rav Moshe told us that there was a woman who was in the army, a high-ranking. This is not just 18, 19-year-old soldier. She's a high-ranking. It's like her profession, and she was becoming a little bit more religious, like traditional woman, a little bit more religious. And she actually wanted to look for a shidduch, and she wanted to get married, and she wanted to find someone who was also on a path of growth. So she went to go get a bracha from a big gadol, and he said to her, "I'm not giving you a bracha. You're wearing pants." Like that. And he said, I can't give you bracha, you're wearing pants, and I'm putting this out on public. And she said, there's no way I can wear a skirt. It's not like I have anything against the skirt, but I work in the army and I will get ridiculed. And he said, well, I'm not giving you bracha. I can't give you a bracha. Where's the bracha going to come if you're not dressed b'tzniut? He said, like if you're not representing that you're proud to be, a Jewish woman who's walking in the streets showing Hashem's glory. Like I don't understand. How can I give you a bracha? And she actually thought about it, and she said, "Wait a minute. I'm saying that I won't put on a skirt because of what other people they're not going to give me respect." And like, so she started to think, "Wait a minute. Do any of them like?" Are they the ones who are getting me my husband? She starts to think like, are they the ones who are going to bring me my husband? Like, what are they bringing me? Like, what is that I'm worried about what they're going to think? So she actually put on a skirt. She goes to the army base, and guess what? Everybody laughed at her. Oh, you think, you're not tzadikah. They're laughing at her, making fun of her, mocking her. That was the first day. It's a very similar to the Rabbi Kiva story with Rachel. And it's a true story. And the second day, they also start, mocking, but it goes down. But the third day, no one cares. And you know what they started saying to her? Kol hakavod. She said she got more respect, right? Because she stood on her values and her principles of what's important to me. And anyways, 3 weeks later, you guys, she met her shidduch. She brought him later to the Rav. He's got a big black kippah on, and they built a life together of Torah mitzvot and of true erech. And you hear these stories, and these are our stories. These are real people's stories. And why am I telling you this? Because I'm going to take it into a very, 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 very simple and so silly. But my 3-year-old sometimes likes to call me Ichi Mami or tell me he's going to put me in the garbage. Like these kinds of conversations when he's not happy with what I'm not giving him. He tells me I'm going to put him in the pach, so I tell him I'm putting him in the ice cream truck, And no, but what I did say to him is in his moment of, I was going to say rage, but I want to say frustration. I was going to say adorable, cute tantrum that he told me. I can't remember the word. It was something like Ichi Mami. So I said, wait a minute, but then you're the ben of an Ichi Mami. And he says, I said, are you the ben of an Ichi Mami? He goes, no. I said, you're the ben of a tzadikah. He said, yeah. I said, okay, great. Now, why am I telling you this story? Because you realize that some mothers actually really feel hurt when their child calls them, now whether they're 3 or 13 or 30, it's the same thing, by the way. Okay, I know it's not nice to have a teenager tell you that too, but they're just saying then that they're the child of a yichimami, which they don't want to say either, because what erech is that? And when you are realizing who you are, and you're not falling apart, because I know it sounds funny, but people really fall apart when the 3-year-old calls them ichimamis, because it triggers something in them. It's not the ichimami. It's triggering them feeling inadequate. My child's always, at 3 years old, they're already telling me things. And if the teenager in their hormonal rage also would say something, or if at any age, any person tells you something, and I get this all the time, people, but they said this to me. This is how I grew up. I kept hearing these things. I understand. I'm not negating it, that it's painful. I'm asking, where's your shlichut in it? Where's your erech? And who says this? We came into this world, olam hatikun, to build ourselves up. Hashem gave you this nisayon to livnot etzmech, to build yourself up, to connect to Him. You would not connect to Him in the same level if you didn't have that koshi. I'm sorry, if you didn't have that challenge. Every day we daven, Hashem, don't give me a nisayon. Don't let me no bad neighbors, no bad this, no bad that. Every day we daven for it. We're not asking for it. But do you realize the things that Hashem picks for us? Not that we pick ourselves and we enslave ourselves by not having chibur. But the test that Hashem gives us, it's not that I pass the test. It's how, I repeat this maybe every week. How am I dealing with the test? Are you in the picture? Ech ani moded. Yosef, how did you deal with the test of being in jail? Okay, how did he deal with the test? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me. And you ask yourselves, how can you be happy in any situation? I'm not happy in a situation does not mean that I am jumping up and down. It doesn't mean that I could be crying in a situation. I could be in true sorrow. I could be crying over somebody else, but that doesn't take away my connection to Hashem. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because Hashem went down with us to Mitzrayim. You should know that Gematria Mitzrayim is the Shekhinah, which means Hashem is with us. And that in itself then brings the Geula when we remember it. He told Yaakov, I'm coming with you, I'll be out with you, but then we forgot. So you just get stuck in Mitzrayim. And our job is to turn it around, to Litchaber. Our homework assignment this week is we connect. And I'm gonna challenge the world with a 5-minute challenge of, just walking, talking, no, nothing of a disconnect. I'm challenging you also to experience Shabbos in a way of more connection. We realize Shabbos can be very challenging for mom. Or for anybody, for a person alone, it's so challenging. I mean, at any stage, I just said that right now as a mom because that was but it's challenging for anyone. It could be very challenging for Shabbos is challenging when you don't connect. And I should tell you, you guys, I spent a good 3 years of my in undergraduate life being completely alone in Shabbat with nobody, no invitations, no Chabad, no mayor on campus, no nobody. And I was quite happy. I felt so connected and I was choosing it also. So it was such a beautiful thing when you choose something because I was choosing connection. So I never look back on thinking like, oh, wow, Shabbos is such a lonely, miserable experience when you're by yourself. No, actually, I had a very beautiful time by myself because I really wanted it. I really wanted connection. And when we're in the midst of something, and for us, Shabbos feels almost like a jail because you're like, there's no routine, the kids are at home, I don't know, it's like, or people and guests and this and that, or you're tired, or you're by yourself. Stop making it into slavery. It's the most beautiful thing. It's saying you're not a slave. Connect. Right? B'ezrat Hashem. It bless us all that we should just have chibur. The connection, it's the same thing also between us and our relationships with people. The first thing we want to do is daven that we should have connection to our spouses, connection to our children, like true connection, chibur, that. To remember that this person is godly, that's what I mean also, and in my life for divine reason, that there's a mission and purpose here, and that I can blossom in any situation that Hashem gives me. B'ezrat Hashem. Shabbat shalom.